Good morning, meteorologist Bob Acanfrio with today's tropical update for Monday, August 22nd, 2011. All eyes are on Hurricane Irene this morning. We had our first hurricane of the Atlantic season born last night. Unfortunately, the storm strengthened as it moved over Puerto Rico last night. A lot of people without power. I guess the latest estimates are about 800,000. That could be more. We've had hurricane force gusts throughout the island, even some up to, at least reports of up to 120 mile per hour wind gusts in the mountainous areas of Puerto Rico. So going to see a lot of reports coming out of Puerto Rico today of probably some massive trees down and destruction there across the island. What we see now, we have minimum central pressure is 987 millibars. This is as of the 8 a.m. advisory. We have hurricane hunters in there now checking out the system yet again. So far I'm seeing about the same intensity with Irene. Maximum sustained wind 75, moving west-northwest at 14. And it's about 100 miles east of the Dominican Republic here, the tip. And unfortunately we've seen this jog to the north last night. It's interesting when these storms get over land or just a little bit of friction like Puerto Rico caused, kind of gets a little kick off to the north when it hits land, and that kicked it just a little off. If you looked at the satellite last night and the radar, you saw that little kick off to the north here. Unfortunately, that is going to place the center just skirting the coast of the northern coast of the Dominican Republic instead of going over the Hispaniola here. That's going to probably keep Irene a hurricane. And that means in this area here, once we get into the Bahamas, we could see Irene approaching major hurricane strength. The official forecast by the National Hurricane Center does not have that right now, but it can happen right in this area here. So, unfortunately, good news, bad news. We don't want it really to go over Hispaniola. They don't need any of this, but that's bad news for the United States because it's going to keep Irene stronger. And then here's the official forecast track by the National Hurricane Center. Not much changes from yesterday. And I'm going to show you the different model runs and why the National Hurricane Center is just kind of sticking with this track right now and not really shifting it any farther east. And I'll show you that in a moment here. Again, if you're in the cone of concern, this is a good time to check out them hurricane plans and you know, get your things in order here, because by Thursday, Friday time frame, we're going to be in here, and then people along the coast from Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, you guys will really have to have your plans sewn up if Irene's coming your way. Okay, satellite view this morning. Here's the first visible satellite view of the morning. You know, very well-defined storm here. Great outflow in all quadrants. Irene is a strengthening system and really nothing to stop it except for land from here on out until it gets to the United States. Putting a little color loop on this system here, and you can see, again, you know, very expansive area here of convection, getting larger and larger by the hour, and it's just really a strengthening system. Might see an eye pop out in the satellite maybe by later today or tomorrow. It's still in its developing stages, and we don't really see an eye yet on the satellite loop at the moment on the satellite view, but maybe by later today, tonight, tomorrow, you'll start to see that eye pop out, especially if it stays north of the Dominican Republic coast here. And this was the radar, just very interesting here. This was the radar. This is as about 4:30 in the morning Eastern Daylight Time, and you saw there was that eye developing here, and you saw the bounce. It was like right about here, hit Puerto Rico, and then kicked it just to the north here. And it's very interesting when they have the land as friction here, how they get that kick to the right or to the north here, and that's exactly what Irene did as it crossed across the northeastern section here of Puerto Rico last night. All right, more views here. This is the Caribbean view here. This is the water vapor loop, just showing you the expansive area of this storm. And you see Irene keeps growing in size. Great outflow to the north. This is going to be, as I was talking about this yesterday, this is going to be a great outflow channel here to the north. And this is going to feed this system throughout its lifespan here as it approaches the United States. So really nothing to stop this system from strengthening at this point. Later on down the road, as it gets up into here, we might be starting to see finally some northerly shear affecting it. but there is really nothing to stop this from its steady development here and from strengthening. It's a very well developed system. Just showing you what we have up ahead of Irene at the moment here. We're going to have that weakness here, and you can see it here by this trough here across the United States. So we have ridge here across the Rockies in Texas, and poor Texas, still dry, still ridge. Here's this trough here, and then we have our subtropical Western Atlantic ridge here, or Bermuda High, however you want to call it. One disturbance is now kicking off the mid-Atlantic coast. We have another shortwave disturbance here coming through Iowa. And each time one of these disturbances move through here, they just kind of keep this weakness in here. So we're not really seeing, it's not really an idea of this trough lifting out, so to say. It's more the battle between these shortwaves coming down and the subtropical Bermuda High to Irene's north. Who's going to win that battle? Will this high be strong enough to kick it more towards the west? Or will these short waves and this trough have enough weakness in here and keep digging down to bump this high a little to the right, and then we have more of that kind of track? So that's really the battle right now between these short waves coming down and creating this weakness, and then the subtropical Bermuda High to Irene's north. And that's where the models are, that's where the battle is with the models. And that's why you see some farther west, some farther east. And I'm going to show you all that here in a moment and give you thoughts on what I think is going to happen. Shear, again, it's not going to be a problem with this system. The higher shear is well off to its northeast. This is going to be in a nice environment for continued strengthening. And here it is. This is really showing you the steering currents right now. And there's that weakness right here. Ridge here, subtropical, Bermuda, Azores High right out here. Texas High or Rockies High, however you want to call it out here. And there's your weakness. You remember almost a week ago I was showing you this weakness and showing you how anything that does develop is going to head towards the United States. Well, here it is. The weakness is here, and there's the avenue. And where that's going to go, where this battle is going to ensue between trough and subtropical high here, that's going to really tell the tale of where Irene will eventually go. All right, model runs. Now, here's where we got it. So we have the official National Hurricane Track, which I showed you, just off the Florida East Coast. Most of the models are grouped out here. And a lot of these are the GFS ensemble models, all these little lines here. The TVCN, this is the model consensus, is right off the Florida East Coast and then into South Carolina, North Carolina. We still have our two outliers here, which I'll show you in a minute here, the UK Met and GFDL. And that's where it's like they are two of the best. We have like probably the four top models of last season, which were, Euro, GFS, and then you have your UK Met and GFDL. So that's why you don't really see, you're like saying, well, why isn't the National Hurricane Center really shifting the track off to the east here? Well, you can't, because you have these two models that perform very well still off to the west. And you still have to kind of keep it closer to the Florida coast than you want while these models are hanging out here. So I'm going to show you all that in a minute here. A little close-up view here. These are some of the early run models, and then you see consensus model TVCN right through here. The forecast track is just to the west of that TVCN model. And again, that is because we still have that UK Met and GFDL models out here. Intensity, again, everybody up in that Category 2, Category 3 range. And we'll definitely see there's a possibility, especially without Irene hitting Hispaniola, to get up in there. Okay, model runs. First I'm going to go through the easternmost model, which is the Euro model. Well off the Florida East Coast, and then brings it across eastern North Carolina. Definitely a great performing model over the years. Can't discount this at all. Has that weaker ridge here, subtropical ridge, Bermuda High. And again, takes it into North Carolina, then right up the East Coast, which would be one of those East Coast runners. Very interesting. Then we have the GFS model, very consistent. It's been wavering a little left and right, but not too much. A little farther to the west than the Euro model. Keeps it off the Florida coast. And then we have landfall near South Carolina, eastern South Carolina, North Carolina, and then again up the East Coast. This again, another real bad model run. This would affect a lot of cities. And again, there's what the GFS is showing today. HWRF pretty much in line with the GFS. Again, through the Bahamas, off the Florida coast, and then into South Carolina. Then we have our westernmost models, and this is the UK Met model. Again, farther west, again towards the west coast of Florida here. Again, it's been a good performing model, especially in the long range. I mean, the UK Met, as far as last year, was one of the best models in the 96 120 hour time frame. So, you know, if you're a forecaster, you can't really discount this at all, and that's why the National Hurricane Center is really still holding its line there on the track. And then you have the GFDL model, again, another good performing model over the years. And again, it has come a little farther east the last few days. Probably not as far east as the National Hurricane Center would like it to be, as far as when they're making a forecast here. But it has come a little farther east. Remember, it was in the Eastern Gulf. Now we're kind of through the peninsula. So my thought is, I want Bob's thoughts here. Let's get back to the forecast track here so I could give you my thoughts on this guy here. I like the National Hurricane Center track. I'm still in the belief that this is going to come probably just to the right of the National Hurricane Center track here. You know, if you follow this dotted line. And then my impact areas are still eventually, you know, from Savannah, you know, up through, you know, Wilmington. That would be my area right in here, right along the coast here, as a possible major hurricane. So, you know, my major impact areas right now would be from Savannah to Wilmington. So right in this area here. That's not to say it could come farther west into Florida. I mean, until the GFDL and UK Met models shift with the rest of the models, you cannot take Florida out of the equation. So we're still in the equation if you live across Florida. And we'll have to see how everything goes. Decision day, I think, is definitely tomorrow night. We're going to know more. We're going to have upper air surveillance flights into Irene, I think, later today. All these surveillance flights help the model, so the model should get better and better. And we should see more of a consensus, let's hope, in the next 24 to 48 hours, and that'll shore up this track here. So again, if you're living across Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, now's the time to just get your, especially if you live along the coast, get your hurricane plans in order, and definitely get this track a little more secure by tomorrow. But again, that's my thoughts on where I think Irene is headed at this moment. I might have another update later this afternoon, especially after the 12Z models. Maybe a quick little update for you guys. If you want to follow me on Facebook, it's Robert, ACAN, FRIO. Have a good day.